Tech Gumbo back on your radio here on Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Tech News and Views with the owner and chief sales exec at Gulf South Technology Solutions, a Baton Rouge company that helps businesses maintain and build their network. You guys build stuff from the ground up.
We design networks. We'll work with you if you have an existing network to maintain your existing network. If you have a Wi-Fi system, you need a new Wi-Fi. I updated my Wi-Fi at the house the other day to the new AC standard. Man, is it fast.
Fast? Excellent.
I went from 18 megabit downloads on the old N Wi-Fi router I had to the new one, 44 megabit throughput.
Wow. Speedy, especially if you've got Netflix and you're on devices.
Well, that was part of it.
I'm sure. Now, weather this week, a little nasty at the end part of the week. Looking nice this weekend. But I'm sure there were some people thinking whenever they look outside and see nasty weather brewing. I saw a flood warning last night come across my area. I should have called someone to protect me from what could happen. But planning is probably what you ought to be doing at the outset, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Thank you, Coach.
So, what should people be thinking about?
Well,
Toy boat.
Yeah, they definitely need to be thinking about a couple of different things. One, if there's a hardware failure within their office that is definitely unpredictable, whether it's their server or any of the part of the server infrastructure or the network infrastructure, the switch, firewall, things like that are going to take their business down. That would be one thing. Another thing would be we have hurricane season coming up. They need to start planning for it. They have to close the office for a few days because of the hurricane. How are you going to communicate with your customers? Because a lot of them have customers that are outside the region. So they want to communicate with them, communicate with their employees. Probably, and I guess actually there's three. The third one would be if something catastrophic happened to their building. We actually had a client that their building was struck by lightning and burned to the ground.
Oh,
and,
man.
Fortunately, a few months before that, we had built a redundant solution for them in the data center. And within a couple hours, they were back up and running and ready to go. Otherwise, that would have been probably a 5-day, 7-day downtime by the time you get all new equipment in and configure it and get it all up and running.
I can't even imagine. That makes me very nervous thinking about it.
What we're talking about is offsite backup and disaster recovery planning.
Okay.
So that, when bad things happen, how much trouble are you going to be in? And, there's kind of one of these things where, what man makes, man breaks. So if your server goes down for an hour, is your business going to be in trouble? Maybe not. If your server's down for 3 days, how much trouble is your business going to be in?
A lot.
Well,
truly.
Unless
those days are Saturday and Sunday, and maybe not even then.
But then where are you in reality? So if your server goes down, are you planned to be right back up? So
and if you're not,
you need to call us immediately, so we can talk to you and help you about it. But there are 10 things that you really need to be thinking about with offsite backup and disaster recovery.
I'm going to take notes here, so you head on out, because I want to know what all this is. Go to town, man.
Number 10 is backing up your business data. 70% of the recent study said 70% of small businesses do not have an effective offsite or a backup system. It's easy to assume that you have something, or that a disaster will not strike you, but you don't have to wait on a named storm to be the problem. Like James talking about the business we work with that had a fire that took them down. A disgruntled employee is also one of the most egregious things that happen to servers. That guy or gal who's mad at you because they think they were wrongly terminated. When they walking out the door, they pour some salt water on your server going out the door, and you don't know about it for about a day or so. That's what you have to be prepared for. That's number 10. Number 9.
Well, and it's using a state-of-the-art backup system to have your data off-site. One of the things to consider with that is not only, is it off-site, but how fast can you restore it? Are you talking about restoring the data back to new hardware? How long is that going to take? You have to look at the time frame whenever you're designing this state-of-the-art backup system.
And you can't count on the thumb drive, backing up to a thumb drive, or using the old tape drives where you got to remember each night to change out the tapes. Or but if you back up to the tape and you leave the tape next to the server and you go home and the building burns,
That's not a backup.
guess where your backups are?
Yeah,
They're
in
up
hell.
in smoke. So you need to be backing up off-site, away from your building, back up into our data center, something like that. If you have a secondary location that's a long ways away from where you are, if you have an office here in Baton Rouge and another one in New Orleans, well, New Orleans is not a good place to back up to, but if you have one in Shreveport, backing up to Shreveport, that's okay. But really getting it into a data center is the best place to keep your information.
Gotcha. Okay, what's next?
And you have to make sure that you're backing up everything that's important to you, whether it's information that's on your server, if you need to be backing up the information that's on the employee computers. Don't back up just, I just need to worry about my Quicken or my QuickBooks. That's all I need to worry about. But you've forgotten about all the important client files or all of the important documents and spreadsheets that if you're not backing that information up, you're only getting half the picture or a portion of the picture.
What number are we on? 7?
Yes,
6?
number 7.
7.
And this one deals with archiving, your emails. And this, may or may not be part of, let's say, a disaster recovery, scenario. But from a business, all businesses should be concerned about archiving email. I know for us, we've been in business 10 years. I have every email I've ever sent and received over the last 10 years, to where
That's amazing.
it is, and it takes storage, but they're organized and I can find them. But if we're ever involved in a lawsuit, or we get not recently, but if you get a client to where you've proposed work through email and they say yes, go ahead with it, and then all of a sudden you do all the work and you send them an invoice for it, they're like, well, I didn't give you the go ahead. Well, you got to be able to go back and find those emails.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you can find that email real quick and fire it back over to them, you're going to get
Gotcha.
paid. So archiving email is actually a requirement in HIPAA, the legal profession.
Right.
And some of it's even into accounting and other professional services.
Makes sense.
So the next one, how well could you live without your calendar and or your contacts? That server goes up in smoke and you hadn't backed up all your information. And like me, I'm scheduled through my phone. If my calendar goes away, I don't know what I'm doing in an hour from now. And so if you're not backed up, if your information is not stored somewhere else, when that server goes down and you can't find that information or all the contacts that you've got, we got 4,000 clients and contacts in your contact folders.
Oof.
And you miss a phone number, good luck trying to remember how you're going to get in touch with that person.
Yes.
Because it all went up in smoke. So you've got to make sure you're taking care of that information.
Number 5.
Yep, I think the clients just need to make sure that they're backing up the files and folders from the individual computers across their network. The end users are going to save files to the desktop. They're going to save them to My Documents. They're going to save them everywhere but where you ask them to save them.
Right.
And so they just need to verify that they're absolutely getting everything backed up on their network.
Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, saving files to a drive that is being backed up. So, like kind of that tags along with what James was just saying. If you've got your PC and you're backing up to the U drive, which is designated for you, or the R drive, or whichever one is your personal drive that you back up to, make sure that drive gets backed up offsite when it's on the server. So again, it gets back to what we were talking about earlier. Back up everything that's important, not just some of the things that you think may be important. Get everything.
Next, number 3?
Yeah, we advise our clients to set up and review their backup schedules, whether they're hourly, daily, nightly, semi-weekly, weekly, monthly, whatever it happens to be. And the way they do that, and the way we explain to them and educate them on how to do that, is how much data are you willing to lose? How much are you willing to re-enter? That kind of thing. So we help them, review those schedules and set them up appropriately.
How about none?
If you're doing transactions, 2 a day, okay, then maybe that's not but if you're doing 20 transactions an hour and you go 6 hours, That's a whole lot of
Yeah.
backtracking you got to go back and try and put together to keep your books balanced.
Nobody can remember that far. Number 2.
You want to make sure your backup system is secure, so that you're not just pushing information out there that's exposed. You want it encrypted. You want it in a nice, safe, secure environment, so that you know you can get it when you have to.
And the number 1 question you ought to be asking yourself if you rely on your data.
It's how easily can you get your data back after a disaster happens, and because and that leads to how fast can you recover it. If we can get the data back in 2 or 3 days, you've still got 2 or 3 days to rebuild the hardware and put it back. So you're going to be wanting to look for a very, very fast solution.
And planning ahead with these guys is a good way to have some peace of mind when you know that a storm is coming.
A good backup and disaster recovery plan takes several months to put together. You don't wait till August when there's a hurricane blowing around there on the Gulf and call us up and say, hey, you remember that backup plan we talked about back in March? Well, can you do that for me now? No, it's too late. I mean, this thing takes months to plan and to do it right.
And each one is very unique, because we'll sit down with the client and look at their line of business applications and what they actually need access to, how soon they need access to it in the event of a disaster. And they're not cookie cutter by any means.
You heard it. They'll work with you to devise a backup plan, build a network, maintain your system. Everything that you probably don't feel you're qualified to do, that's what Gulf South Technology Solutions can help you with in the tech world, which is why we have a show with these guys each and every Saturday. Once again, getting in contact with you is easy.
225-216-2169.
Or at www.gulfsouthtech.com.
Or you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/GulfSouthTech and put in the keyword Windows 10 and get a free copy of Microsoft Office 2013 Professional, the $400 retail value. We'll draw a name from everybody who comes to the site and registers with the keyword Windows 10 this week.
Windows 10.
And we'll contact you.
Haggai James, always a pleasure. Always a whole lot of fun each and every Saturday here at 3 o'clock.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. This is Tech Gumbo on Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Baton Rouge's local talk and information leader.